Welcome, everybody, to the Degens IDP Blitz. I'm Matt Monty, and today I am honored to share the show with a guest who many of you know. If you're an IDP guy, if you're a gambling guy, you probably are familiar with my guest today, Iggy from Fantasy Alarm and the co-founder of the sports affiliation. Iggy, there's a goat next to your name for a reason. It is because you are one of the goats when it comes to talking about this subject. So thank you for joining me today.
Hey, man, thank you for having me, Matt. You are a goat. Always a pleasure, hanging out. Not too many opportunities to come in and just have a whole show dedicated to IDP. So I really appreciate the opportunity. And here we are, man. We're almost halfway through the regular season for most fantasy football leagues. So
believe it, man. But we're getting our last 7 p.m. sunset in Indiana this week. The vibes are low in that department, but I cannot believe we are 7 weeks in. But to kind of go into the show, because we're 7 weeks in, we're starting to see some wear and tear stuff. We're starting to see injuries piling up kind of everywhere. It feels like a minefield right now, but specifically at the linebacker position. And I'm going to kind of highlight one. It's the biggest one. We all know it. Fred Warner, he's done for the year. This is now the third consecutive week we have had a top 5 linebacker go down for multiple weeks due to injury. And while you can't predict those sort of things, it's just a bummer, man. Right now, we're seeing a 49ers team that it just feels like every year they're decimated with injuries. But this one feels different because they had such a transition on that defense this season. There's a lot of different pieces. Now you feel a lot worse not having a Dre Greenlaw on your team when you lose a Fred Warner for the year. So now you've got players like D. Winters, and we got a surprise guy kind of making some noise. Everybody's picking him up. Bethune, I don't know how to say his last name. But Iggy, nobody comes close to the impact that Fred Warner is going to have in IDP. I'm not going to pretend that you have this one-size-fits-all problem solver. Do you trust Gifford or Bethune? Those are the two that are kind of getting some steam as far as who's going to be the next man up. Bethune got the green dot early, but there's a lot of little momentum here on the side for Gifford. Do you use all your fab on one of these two? What do we do?
I definitely don't use all my fab. And, yeah, it sucks to lose Fred Warner, because – he was just so rock steady. He was my first IDP in fantasy football sevens. Took him pretty early. I was like, he never misses, man. He's just always there. Lo and behold, this is the year. CMC's healthy and everybody else is out around him. But it's a big blow when you lose Fred Warner because he was definitely being the glue, the green dot, like you said, not only communicating with the coach, making the mid-snap adjustments, pre-snap adjustments, hey, they're running out. Let's go to, flex your man over here, switch out if they run a rub route or something, or, he's doing all of that. So I don't think that either one of them is going to be able to replicate it. I'm spending low fab on them. And Bethune probably is gaining the most speed, but Gifford, he also played 21 snaps, last week. That was his highest since week 1. And, they're playing the Atlanta Falcons this week. So if he's in there, he's going to get targeted more than likely on any passing situation. And then B, when they're not passing, it's going to be Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, man. And he's going to be an interior linebacker, more or less matched up, shooting whichever gap they go to. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity just by pure volume of being manned up against Robinson, Algier, and Kyle Pitts. He's becoming more involved this year. So. Got to show a little.
Anytime you can fit a Kyle Pitts into any fantasy show, it's going to make the algorithm explode. So I appreciate that, Iggy. In all seriousness, I'm with you. It feels like they almost took all the life force out of their team to keep Christian McCaffrey upright this year. And while I love Christian McCaffrey, and obviously I'm tongue-in-cheek there, this 49ers team, we've never gotten to truly see the full, complete unit over an extended period of time. So we always talk about how Kyle Shanahan is a great coach, and I agree with that. He's obviously managing situations that nobody in the NFL is prepared to manage. So imagine if it's just a situation that's normal, and I want to use those quotes because there's nothing really normal in the NFL. But I have been working on a theory here, and I want your opinion on this. Do you think that because we're seeing all these major injuries, and I say major, multiple week injuries to me are major. You're missing a percentage of the season. So do you believe that that's because the NFL, kind of this last couple of seasons, we've seen stars play more and more into the preseason, where a while ago it was we took everybody out and then they were getting hurt week 1 and 2 because they weren't playing. But now we're seeing the NFL is throwing them back, and I say the NFL, but there are coaches that are throwing players back into situations to play more snaps early on. So these wear and tear type injuries, and Warner's was way more serious than that, but these wear and tear injuries that we're seeing nick up guys like Devin Lloyd, who is going to be out this week. Is that because they're playing too often? Am I overthinking this? Is the NFL just a violent game?
Yeah, I mean, you're not overthinking it because there's always a solution or a way to improve a situation. And injuries are probably key focus for a lot of teams, honestly. It's obviously prerogative for the NFL because they're trying to fix it in the player negotiation, the collective bargaining agreement. But for me, it's football's 100% injury rate. If you play it, you're going to get hurt. That's just kind of the raw truth about it. I mean, a lot of these guys are playing through injuries and dings and broken ribs. Michael Pittman played through a broken back last year. So, people are playing hurt. But the removal to me of full pad 2-a-day practices for, 2 weeks solid before you even get there, I think that's an issue. I think removing padded practice is an issue because you can use those practices to get yourself in football shape. And football shape requires having, very hard defined muscles. You're like real solid as a football player. You have to be able to withstand being hit on every play, because basically every person that's playing is getting hit or making physical contact every play. But you also have to have limber joints, and that's where we're seeing a lot of these issues, as in ankles and pec muscles. We're starting to see a lot more of those. But I think proper practice would allow these muscles and joints to develop, and you get those injuries, you get those soft injuries out of the way in preseason. Those guys can still come back by the season now, as opposed to getting injured week 3 or 4, 5. Now you're just, the timeline's not going to allow it. So I think that's an underlying issue that could address this, in my opinion. But I don't think we'll ever go back to full padded practices in 2-a-days. So
I don't either. I think the athlete is more advanced now than they have ever been. So the force and the velocity that these guys are getting hit at is probably something that has not been, maybe it probably is, but it's not something that I think anybody could have anticipated to this level, where it's just one of those things where every play, like you said, I love that line. The NFL is a 100% injury rate. I'm going to steal that. I promise you I'm going to steal that. But it's so true. These guys get hurt early, and just because hurt to them and hurt to you and I is probably two totally different hurts. All right. It ruins my evening if I stub my toe at an end table. These guys are taking 40, or not 40, but about 20-mile-an-hour hits right into their chest sometimes, and then have to get up and ask for more later. So I'm with you there. We got to bring back something to get I don't want to say the toughness, but maybe the calluses into the game earlier, or at least more controlled, more manageable. And I'm sure that there are millionaires and billionaires way more practiced in this that are way thinking about this problem more than you and I. But we're going to go back to the stuff about this game we love, which is fantasy football. And I'm going to bring the vibe down even more because the Bengals defense just lost another piece. Trey Hendrickson, the edge rusher, got hurt. He's probably the only piece on the Bengals defense that anybody either A, knows the name of, or B, would actually be willing to acquire in the league, and that's including IDP. He is still a credible edge rushing threat in the NFL, and he's been a really productive IDP. But when you see a player on a team that feels like a sinking ship, I'm a Bengals fan, but I'm telling you, the vibes couldn't feel any more off kilter. The Flacco move might save that, but when I'm a guy that has Hendrickson who feels as though the organization burned him, now I've got an injury early on. I've already got my bag, and it's guaranteed, and it's pretty much a one-year rental. It's kind of what everybody feels like it is. Do you have any motivation to come back? That's what worries me the most. Do you think that Hendrickson has been worth the headaches and worth the money so far based on his production we've seen this season?
Hendrickson, he's like I said, the NFL, MLB postseason's going on. The NFL has closers as well, and those guys are the edge pressure sack guys. Those are the guys that close out games. And if you go look at game tapes, just Hendrickson has done that for the Bengals because if they never had a let's kneel it situation. They always had a hope they ended with the ball last or were able just to outscore them. So Hendrickson put away those games whenever they weren't able to outscore them, but until the very last drive, and then he needed to close the game out. But it's tricky. Maybe they want to trade him for an asset. Maybe they're trying to see if they can get a third, maybe fourth rounder if they just give him out to this team that's Super Bowl bound or playoff bound at least. But maybe they get him at a cheaper rate and sit him out and just trade him. Just be like, you know what, you're injured. Let's just go ahead and get a contract out. Knock off a few 10 million or so, let's say, and just let's get you healthy with Joe Burrow, and we'll get a run at this next year. So I can make a case for both sides, Matt. This is where it's fun to play GM. What do you do in this situation? If you're in like a more advanced dynasty league, what are you doing with Hendrickson? Are you just putting him in an IR spot if you got it? Are you trying to trade him? There's all kinds of situations, and his talent can't be denied. But to answer your original question, has it been worth the headache? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that same way, and I think he's a productive player. But what all hindsight's 2020. Has he changed any outcomes right now, you feel, on the defensive side? I don't think anybody effectively would say yes to that. I think it's exactly what you said, the closer analogy, spot on. You mentioned Michael Pittman playing with a back injury last year. That's kind of the injury that we are seeing Hendrickson trying to overcome currently. It's exciting to see that a wide receiver, somebody who's kind of tasked every time they get the ball, they're going to get slammed. If he feels as though he can play through that, we're talking pain tolerances with different people here, but we're also talking different positions and different body types. Trey Hendrickson plays a position that requires you to be explosive. You have to be at peak physical condition almost every play, or at least a physical condition that is level enough with the talent around you and opposed to you. I worry with a back because you can't get over a back. We talked about it earlier. Sometimes if I sneeze wrong, my back hurts. And it ruins a week because it's one of those things where you just can't really get right no matter how much you stretch. Now imagine being an NFL athlete trying to go up against these giant left tackles every single week. Do you expect this type of injury to be something that he will be able to manage? And do you even think he's going to have the motivation to try to get back immediately if the tide doesn't turn?
Yeah, I don't know what the motivation would be. The AFC, it's pretty muddled down. There's not a lot of competition at the top right now. So the Bengals could, in theory, make a push. But I don't know if he – what was he injured with the Saints with? Did he have another back injury there, or was it just like he didn't play that many games?
I just think he wasn't that guy there. Yeah. He wasn't tasked to be that. And he was also playing around Cameron Jordan in his prime.
Jordan, yeah. So I don't know. If this is not a reoccurring thing, like this is just kind of a one-time thing, then – it might be something he might try to push himself back to, try to get him a contract, if not with the Bengals, somewhere else, because that's another truth. If he doesn't come back, it's knocking off his contract somewhere else. So, he's one of the best edge rushers in the league, had the most sacks. He's been consistently having the most top 5 sacks previous years, but I don't think he would push it unless they can prove they can turn the tide in his absence.
I agree 100%. And as he goes, the Bengals defense will go further and further down. Yeah. Now that we've done some housekeeping, we talked some injuries, I want to talk about the topic that I feel like kind of encapsulates what today will be, and that is, Iggy, does it get any easier? Does this get any easier? In all of fantasy football, not just IDP, some days and moments feel as though no matter how hard that you study, you can react, you're never going to figure this game out. It is one of those never-ending cycles of just trial and error. And if you do not have the stomach to just be wrong constantly, you are not going to enjoy this. I've always believed that there's a method to the madness, though. Half the battle is really just paying attention and understanding and reacting to everything in the ever-changing landscape. But because we do this and we call ourselves analysts and we put stuff out there, and we put our face to the take, right? I want to talk about a couple of times we were wrong. I want to own it. I want to get out in front of the news, Iggy. So we're going to start with you. I want to know 2 players that you were completely off base on, and I want to react to what your process was. Do you still feel like you attacked it, or do you still feel like there's hope for you to be right, or if you're throwing in the towel? So, Iggy, 2 players. Who we start with?
Yeah, I don't know why I was so down on, these 2 players, but one of them's interesting with the news as well, So, but Quay Walker, I had him at linebacker 40 coming into the season, and he's just way outperformed that. He's averaging 10 tackles per game right now. He's in zone coverage, he's in man coverage, he's in the backfield. He's he's just a kind of a do-it-all linebacker for the Packers right now, which people were worried to an extent about their lack of secondary. And Walker, to an extent, has done that by being able to cover slot route receivers, cover tight ends, of course, while being a run presence linebacker. I thought Edgerrin Cooper would just kind of take it all away and maybe they would get ready to dish off Walker. But now I think that'd be pretty foolish of the Green Bay Packers. Walker's just fitting perfectly in this defensive scheme. And he's the best player. You know, it's not Micah Parsons. It's not Rashawn Gary. It's not Edgerrin Cooper. It's him. It's Quay Walker. He's the best defensive player on this team. So I don't think he's going to creep out of the top 12 linebackers across basically any format. I think he's kind of naturally set just to his tackle value.
Yeah, I was also wrong on Quay Walker. I just didn't trust that he would hold on to it the entire year. I thought we would see some early stuff because he's not just going to run away and hide because there's a sexy new toy, right? But Edgerrin Cooper has had a fantastic season. It's not like he's played bad and Quay Walker suddenly, is going to just lose his job. Quay is having a great season, and Edgerrin Cooper, they're both in the top 15 right now as far as linebackers go, and I think they're comfortably set and forget guys week to week. I think you know what you're going to get, and I think they're safe plays. So Quay Walker, I was also wrong, but you might be early, right? He's got to fall off sometime, man.
No,
all right, who's number two?
With the running backs in the NFC North. Those they got 5 division games kind of in like the last 7 weeks, I believe. This last 8 weeks. So there's going to be a lot of running coming at him.
Yep. All right, Iggy, number 2. Who else you wrong on?
I had some guys that didn't perform too well at the top that are injured. Fred Warner I had ranked number 2. Roquan Smith I had ranked number 4. But those are injuries. So once again, I went with the player that I was too high on. But obviously enough is just now injured. And we're finding out, we saw it. I didn't think it was going to be as serious as it was, but it might turn out to be more serious. And that's Lloyd, Jaguars. I had him outside of LB3 territory. I had him ranked at linebacker 38, 39. And I just thought Foye Sade was going to come back and be him. And Foye Sade Alakun has come back and been a wonderful linebacker. There's no doubt about it. But Lloyd has retained value playing alongside him. Of course, the pick 6, everybody saw that in the primetime game, 99 yards, showed his capability there. But he's got 5 turnovers this season, or excuse me, 5 turnovers that he's been involved with and 22 tackles. So his tackle volume is not as high as you might like it to be, but that big play and his ability to keep consistently doing it keeps him so relevant. So I don't, if I'm going to, is the madness going to continue? He's definitely going to drop out of range with this injury. Now the question becomes, is he going to be able to be effective when he comes back and plays through pain and plays through injury?
I've also been dead wrong on Devin Lloyd, and I've said it probably every week. I'm just trying to move on and forget the person that I was and be a better person today. All right, I was also wrong a lot too, Iggy. Don't feel bad. I was wrong on Jack Campbell. I think he's finally ascended the promised throne of inside linebacker to have in Detroit. Alex Anzalone, you are old news, pal. We have moved on to the next guy. I don't want to say that I wasn't like a fan of the guy, like I just didn't see the hype with him coming into that draft. And that IDP draft at the time was not viewed very highly. It was very much a hodgepodge. And when I analyze drafts like that, I don't go for because it's such a draft, you have to take this guy here. If it's so muddy, the chances of that guy hitting versus a lower tier player hitting, to me, feel the same. And that's how I approach the Jack Campbell situation. Not only that, then Alex Anzalone didn't go away. So it kind of fueled me the last couple of years where I'm like, all right, you know what? I avoided that mine. This year, dude, he is unquestioned. He is an unquestioned good player to have and a weekly starter that needs to be in your lineups. He's no longer the secondary guy. And I think we're seeing Anzalone fall off a bit. We're seeing the ascension more of Derek Barnes in that defense at linebacker, which has been a promising thing to see. He is also young. We're seeing a transition in Detroit. I think everybody thought that the bottom was going to fall out of this team when the coordinators left, myself included. And while it's not looking like they're the same team, obviously, the culture and the structure is still in place. So I trust the players and the people involved in making those decisions to put their team in the best opportunities to win. And we are seeing players like Barnes and Campbell get more snaps and to not necessarily take away the snap share from Alex Anzalone, but they are more involved in the game plan with him. And there were times when that was not happening. And I was just flat wrong. I thought that after that first year when he didn't pop onto the scene being a first-round pick at linebacker, I thought that's it. Linebacker, you should be able to just step in and at least immediately contribute in a way that's a bit easier on defense than offense. And I'm saying that completely ignorantly. And he has made me eat my words. He has been a fantastic linebacker this season. And Mr. Campbell, I'm sorry. The second player who I was wrong on, it kind of mirrors what you were saying. I said Edgerrin Cooper because I was lower. I didn't think that he was going to be what he is this year. I thought he was going to take that next step as we saw kind of Quay Walker. I thought we were going to get more of the average. I thought we were going to get, Quay's going to go down a little bit. We're going to see Cooper take up some of the snap share, take up some of the tackles that maybe he wasn't good enough to get last season. But it's kind of like what you said. That Green Bay defense, I don't think anybody kind of realized what was going on. And then obviously getting Micah Parsons speeds up the other team's offense. And if the play does not open up downfield, you've got an elite edge rusher like Micah Parsons constantly breathing down your neck. Quarterbacks are going to want to get the ball out fast. If they get the ball out fast, chances are it's going to be closer to the line of scrimmage. Linebackers play closer to the line of scrimmage. The tackle volume is there. And we are seeing two linebackers in this same defense feast, not just do well, feast. They are both linebacker ones. I 100% believe that both of them are linebacker ones. And in Dynasty, I think you could argue that both are top 10 linebackers. So with that being said, I didn't think Edgerrin Cooper was going to do this. I liked Edgerrin Cooper. I thought he was a stash for most of last season, but then he popped off. And when these guys pop off, an IDP, man, it's a feeding frenzy. It's just like when you have a running back emerging on offense. If a linebacker emerges, everything else in life no longer matters. I have to get this guy. I will do it as soon as I can. And I feel like Edgerrin Cooper got to that, but I didn't think that he was going to be worth that this season coming into it with his price. He has been well worth that, probably worth more than what he was even selected with this season. And I'm just going to take an L, Iggy. But before we move on to the next and favorite part of the show, I have to pay some bills. Oh, man. And it went away. My computer. This is so amateur, Iggy. I apologize that you have to subject yourself to this.
You asked, we delivered a full best ball tournament on Fast Draft, but we do it the Fast Draft way, and it's called the Rabbit, because of course it is. 20-second time clock, 15 rounds. These drafts, they take 20 minutes. That's it. So you get a lot of new people coming in and playing, get a lot of best ball bros playing, exploitable ADPs, no rake. It is the best EV in all of fantasy. You should just go to fastdraft.app, use code FAST. You get a $50 deposit match. These things are a blast, and it's the best use of your funds in all of fantasy.
Love it.
And don't forget to use the promo code DEGEN, DEGEN, for a $50 deposit match. And I promise you the app is a lot easier than it is to play the ad for the app. I can assure you of that. Iggy, we're doing some waiver wire stuff. We're going to forget that just happened. 2 players. I need something going on. I've lost Roquan. I've lost Fred Warner. I've lost this, that, and the other. Who do I pick up this week?
Man, I got a couple, but I went, in a different kind of position group. I do love Jermaine Pratt. I wrote about him, but we'll save him for a little bit later because I got Mekhi Blackman. You may not know who he is, but he also is an Indianapolis Colt. And, you know who he is, I'm sure, about being in Indianapolis. But, he's not as popular name in the IDP community. The Colts had an all-around great game in Week 6. Their team's pretty competitive, all right? They put enough tape on there to say Lou Amorano from the Bengals came over, making a big difference over there for the Colts defense, in my opinion. But they're underrated, and Blackman is one of those underrated players. He played 71 snaps on defense last week, including 58 wide corner snaps. However, he's a tackling defensive back, Matt, and he played 20 snaps in the box the past 2 weeks. So anytime you get a DB sneaking into the box, helping against obvious run plays, manned up on a tight end, something like that, it's always going to be beneficial. He also has 5 or more combined tackles in 5 consecutive weeks. Not something you see too often in the defensive back world. So you got a high floor right there. But he also has 3 passes defended, 2 interceptions, and 1 sack. So they're bringing him on blitzes. He's reacting to wide receiver quarterback relationships. So he's getting points the hard way, and he's also stacking up tackles. So just an honestly excellent ad in my opinion. He could be picked up, but the Colts have a tendency to play with a positive game script too. So there could be a big play for him, these next couple of weeks due to his opponents. So I like Blackmon.
I like him a lot. I think that when you're playing with corners, you're playing with fire. So going after the ones that do what you just said, box snaps, the versatility to actually be able to cover more than just a wide receiver on the outside. I mean, more than just a one-trick pony. I think Blackmon's good. Who's your second?
Yeah, man, I love playing on Thursday night. I feel like IDPs have an advantage on Thursday night because they can, just bring a new blitz package that they haven't used or drop a new coverage that they've never seen, and there's really not time to prepare for it. With that being said, Jalen Ramsey, man, the old man crew over there in Pittsburgh, you got a bunch of old dudes over there ready to get another ring or get their first ring. Cincinnati, Joe Flacco is going to throw it a lot. He threw it like 43 times, I believe, against the Packers. Yes. It's just something I like to do. Ramsey had 2 sacks last week. He's had a pick 6 neglected by a penalty. I believe a fumble recovery neglected by a penalty, as well as like another like pass deflection. Like he's had stats that have not shown up in the stat book. So keep that in mind. And they're playing with a purpose, man. They're 4-1 in the AFC North. They have clear and complete control of the division as long as they keep winning. This is a divisional game. I don't think that they're, Mike Tomlin, I think he'll outcoach Zach Taylor in this match. And I think that he'll benefit through Ramsey. He played 69 snaps last week, 38 in the slot where he can come in and make a play. He can blitz. At wide corner, he had 12. He even played 10 at free safety. Sometimes not ideal for IDP, but he does get to see the entire field. And then he had 3 in the box. Flacco threw 45 times. Bengals will have a great offensive line. Opportunity for an interception or a sack this week.
He's the second best Joe on the team, that's for sure. Okay. But I do think that this Thursday night matchup is going to be, these games between Pittsburgh and the Bengals, they're ugly. They're always ugly. So having defensive players in ugly games is always an effective strategy. It's cool that you went 2 corner because I went 2 linebackers. So we kind of stuck to a couple of different positions here. The 2 linebackers I took, first one was Jermaine Pratt, former Bengal, doesn't sign back, goes to Las Vegas, and then randomly gets cut, just like ships sailing in the night. You don't really understand what's going on there.
Devin White, baby.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And you get him into Indianapolis, who has just been desperate for a second linebacker to take over in that role since Zaire Franklin has moved over and Bobby Okereke has moved on. I thought it was going to be Jalen Carlisle. I don't think it's going to be Jalen Carlisle. I thought John Batchy was going to be the guy. It doesn't appear to be Batchy. I think even Ajiaki had a chance. I think I just gave up at that point. When I started saying names like that, I just know that I'm just way too deep in the weeds. But Jermaine Pratt in his first bit of action with like 2 or 3 days notice, 11 tackles. That is an Indianapolis Colts linebacker. That is set and forget, and that is the type of guy that needs to be rostered. That's in his bag. He's always had that available. The Colts have just needed to be the home that he's had, and he reunites with Lou, who he was defensive coordinator at Cincinnati when Pratt was the linebacker there. So the scheme is not going to be something that he is not going to know. If anything, it's something that he is going to thrive in. And the second one, going back to the Cincinnati thing, because this is a Cincinnati show if you've never heard. Barrett Carter. For whatever reason, the Bengals have now decided to bench Logan Wilson, and Barrett Carter is getting some play. They said it was not due, or Zach Taylor said it was not due to the play of Logan Wilson so much as trying to kind of switch the vibe up, get something different out there on defense, try to see if they can spark something. What that tells me, he's very nice at saying you're getting outplayed by a guy younger than you. And I think that Barrett Carter, I think Logan Wilson's been the type of linebacker, and I've been on this for years, and I've just had to eat crow. I think he's just overplayed kind of who he is. Statistically, he's fantastic in IDP, but I've just never bought it because I'm a Bengals fan and I watch him on the field and I just don't get that he's taken over the game type of feeling. So Barrett Carter, and Demetrius Knight. Basically, the Bengals just said, hey, our linebackers are not good. We're going to draft 2 of them. And, hey, 7 weeks in, we're going to start both of them. They are starting completely fresh. And with that fresh mindset, that means he's going to get extended opportunities. They're not challenging for a Super Bowl right now. So Barrett Carter needs to be on your bench minimally, if not in your starting lineups, after we see some performances back together. Before I let you go, Iggy, I need you to tell me where I can find you, what you do, why you do it. Do you love fantasy? Tell me about yourself, Iggy.
Yeah, man, I love fantasy for sure. I've been playing for 16 years now. And I played 3 sports. I've played fantasy basketball going into my 12th season, football, obviously 16, surfing. I've done 4 years. So you can find my you can find my work over at Fantasy Alarm. I predominantly do my ID report. It was released today over there. It is behind the paywall, but you can get a promo code with Spooky20, and then the sports affiliation as well. I do producing shows. I do the Black and Blue in fantasy football preview about the NFC North with Andy Behrens, Greg Kellogg, and JC. JC and I in the Kings Classic with you. So IDP minded.
Who just beat me? Just beat me this week.
Who, me?
JC did.
Yeah, JC. Yeah, I don't know how you talked about that.
Monday, dude.
Yeah, it was. He couldn't believe he won, but it's a brutal. You beat me already. You're my only loss this season.
I wasn't gonna mention it, but I definitely was thinking it, Bob. Don't worry.
Yeah, man, it's weird. And I beat Gary and Rachel, and they're the only other 2 one-loss teams. So it's a brutal thing. But yeah, you can find me over at thesportsaffiliation.com. And then, as always, I'm recruiting next year for my charity IDP league with benefiting Kawasaki's disease. Be the 7th year of fantasy football sevens. If you never played IDP or you're not sure about Kawasaki's disease, not sure what it is, go and join up. It all goes directly to their foundation, Kawasaki Kids Foundation. So come out, support something good, because after next year, man, I may take a break for a little bit. Running 112 teams by yourself, it gets a little hard.
Yes, I can imagine. I can't handle the one team I'm in charge with in the league, so I can't imagine trying to manage 112 people. All right, there's a reason that people think you're one of the GOATs, and I'm going to test that knowledge here. I'm going to try to poke your brain. We're going to do a quick little 2-3 minute thing here. You're known not only for your IDP knowledge, but you're also known pretty well for your IDP and your NFL betting. Not just NFL, though. You kind of dabble everywhere. You are a sports betting aficionado, and I'd like to pick your brain a little bit. So first of all, what's your favorite type of bet? Are you spread betting? Are you betting over-unders? Are you player props? What kind of bet do you look for the most? Why do you like it?
Yeah, I'm definitely a prop better. I like to look at IDP tackles, of course. That's kind of, I was just hitting on that when that first became an option. And we just, our community and the IDP community, we were over on the robots when that was first coming out. So that was a lot of fun, dude. But, I also write NBA bets for Fantasy Alarm, generally 7 days a week. So I try to focus on props because, if I release a bet early in the morning and then in basketball, you get 2 or 3 guys that are out all of a sudden. Well, that just changes the total, the spread. It's just so many other factors. So I like to look at prop bets, but I have been betting a lot of spread bets, and including on baseball on the run line. I just kind of found that one team's kind of dominating the other with pitching. So the run line's been good in the postseason. But if I only could make one bet the rest of my life, it would be prop bets.
All right. I like that. I love a good prop bet. I'm not good at all. That's why we're doing this, and I'm not in a mansion somewhere. But I got to know what got you into sports gambling. Why do you like it so much? You seem to do quite a bit. Yeah,
dude. I guess it's just kind of my whole life, dude. I remember being real little and learning how to play rummy with my grandma and playing. I've taught myself how to play basically every board game you can think of. I was really good at chess, which I've never bet on. But then dominoes, I've been making money off of dominoes and crap since I was a teenager and playing poker with my friends. And, so I just kind of think it just naturally evolved into that. And, picking on being a Packers fan growing up in DFW, it was always easy to bet on the Cowboys-Packers games and so forth. So playing squares, it just kind of all naturally led to it. And then when I led to it somewhere that was legal, it just all the doors open.
I let fantasy surfing go, but if you start gambling on chess, Iggy, I'm going to make you call the hotline. All right. So fantasy surfing, that's about as vague as we can get right before we start saying that there's something going on. Any trap bets? If you're a newbie like me, if you're somebody that's just trying to get some skin in the game for a big game, you're out with your boys or your girls, what kind of trap bet do you see people fall for the most?
Yeah, the boosted bets, like if they're giving you the set options, like you don't get to choose the options. Like I fell for it last night. I was like, Bijan 60+ rush, Cook 60+ rush, no problem. Cook
Easy.
20, or Bijan 20+ receiving yards, no problem. Cook 20+ receiving yards. This is the bet. This is the whole bet right here. He's got it. Of course, he didn't get any receiving yards. So the boosted set fixed bets, because they've ran those through their analogs and their computers. They've done it millions of times, and they're like, hey, we're showing that this leg's not likely not going to hit. Let's boost it and give it to them. But also anything where they got to get 3 or 4 or more. Like it's hard to predict one thing right. Getting 3 or 4 things right in a single event, that's pretty difficult.
Man, Iggy, don't be bashing parlays. Who doesn't like to cook a parlay every now and again? All right, I got one more. The one that everybody needs to know about sports gambling. What strategy do you employ? What do you look for to determine what the bet should be?
Yeah, Matt, we talked about it. We do all these advanced analytics and all that, but really at my core, I'm a scientist, man. So my number one job is try to disprove how this cannot happen. Like, what are the factors that can make this not work? And when I can only limit like excellent team play from another team, like a one-on-one, like I love betting rebounds. I love the big guys. There's only so many 7-footers out there, 6'10" people. So I look at like, what is this other team giving up? What are the odds that this guy's going to go out and play his normal minutes? What did he play last night? So I just take in a lot of data, and then I implement it into my hypothesis of like, is this going to clear the over? Is this going to be under because their minutes will be down? Like, what is my feeling behind it? And that's like, if I feel like there's too many variables that make it where it cannot happen, I back off the bet. Sometimes I play with my heart. I had Jacobs touchdown 100 yards, Green Bay money line. And the data was there. I was right. 7 yards short. Sometimes you tease it up too much. But that's my recommendation. And if you don't need to be betting with your heart, but like at the same time, if you know your team well and you know the statistics of your team well, by all means bet on them, because now you have this wealth of knowledge and you're just ignoring it because of your emotional tie. Like, no, be like, you know what? I've been watching this snap count go down. That is an under, or you know what? I know this second string's going to fill in and get more targets this week. This is an over, you just got to, use data that's available to you and try to disprove if this can happen or not. And what are the reasons it can't? And if that's more than the reasons that it can, then don't lay the bet.
You heard it here first, everyone. Use the data available to you. And guess what? You have 30 minutes of Iggy and me talking IDP. That is data in a video form, if I've ever heard. Iggy, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. It was very nice to meet you at the Expo this year. You were very kind to me, and I just really appreciate you coming on here and spreading the gospel of Iggy on this channel. So thank you so much. And everybody, this has been the Degens IDP Blitz. I'm Matt Monty. As always, I really appreciate you watching. Thank you, and we'll see you next